Welcome to Digital Nation, your weekly trip through the best of local TV. From the school children connecting with space to a heartwarming baby armadillo, we bring you things you don't normally see elsewhere. Coming up, paddling for a pint, Norwich's new approach to the pub crawl. We get a private tour through Glasgow's newest temple, and the freestyle footballer from Sheffield who's made the record books. And don't forget to get in touch on Twitter using the hashtag #DigitalNation. First, challenging prejudice through the power of paint. An art project called I'm Tired and started by 2 Nottingham graduates has found an eye-catching way to draw attention to everyday stereotypes and frustrations that people say they are tired of facing.
And I'm tired of talking. I've been nothing but good to you.
So we're here in Guerrilla Art Lab with Paula, who's the artist behind all this.
We complained to each other a lot, and we decided we just wanted to channel it into some sort of project that would actually have meaning, I guess. So we invited loads of our friends around and asked them to each come with a statement beginning with I'm tired, and then we just wrote it on the backs and took pictures, and it's to do with any kind of discriminations or stereotyping that they face to do with sexuality, gender, anything really.
Why do you think this has really kind of captured people's interest almost?
I think it's because you can actually slot yourself into it, because it's a back and because it's anonymous. It could be absolutely anyone, and I think if you yourself maybe relate to the statement, then it can almost be something you take on for yourself.
There's something really human in that feeling of vulnerability. I think that we all feel these feelings, and sometimes we don't always recognise what that would be in somebody else's experience. So I don't know what that might feel like, but I can identify with it through this project, and I can have some empathy for what it's like.
Let's head to West Yorkshire now, where it was ground control to Major Tim, as one lucky primary school got the chance to speak to the astronaut Tim Peake live on the International Space Station. So, with just minutes of his time, what did they ask?
There's a starman waiting in the sky.
At 9 a.m. this morning, waiting he was, Major Tim Peake on the International Space Station, waiting for the prime 10-minute window that he'd be in radio communications distance with Leeds. Back on the ground, there were some patiently waiting youngsters too. Packed into the Assembly Hall of Ashfield Primary School, the children here have been preparing for today for weeks. Doing the talking, the team at Amateur Radio on the International Space Station, or ARIS, a group of volunteers that travel the world, volunteering their time, experience and crucially antennas to establish live links from schools all over to the ISS. In the UK, it's just 10 schools that get the chance to speak to Tim, and it's quite the technological feat.
The space station comes over the UK 3, maybe 4 times a day on a cyclic period. So there'll be a set of weeks when it is over the UK during the day, and then it'll be a set of weeks when it's over the UK at night time.
Listening is standing by for a scheduled contact with the International Space Station. Over.
Hello Kieran and hello Ashfield Primary School. It's great to be talking to you this morning.
Questions and teddy bears in hand, we learnt all sorts, from space sweets and not washing clothes for months, to food floating around on the ISS, and even a question that Briton Tim couldn't answer himself.
How tall are you now in the ISS? Over.
Hi Ethan, that's a very good question, and I haven't actually measured myself, so I don't know quite how tall I am, but I did sit in my Sawyer's seat the other day, and I noticed that I was taller than when I launched, so probably about 2 or 3 centimetres taller.
10 minutes later and the ISS was dropping out of range, but for the first time ever, the sight and now sound of Yorkshire's youth had made it into space.
Goodbye everybody. Over.
Over to Belfast now, where a community cafe is building bonds through baking. Volunteers run the project that's giving people with learning disabilities work and life opportunities.
Campo Hollywood started in 1953, just down the road from us. We're just the first community. The principles are very much of life sharing, living and learning together with people with special needs. Our people who work with us, they're able to have individual workshops for them to individually express themselves and contribute meaningful into the town life and work life.
We are working with people with special needs, and we see how this whole project is bringing light in their lives. We have people here in the bakery, they enjoy doing what they're doing so much, and it's just possible because we are working here as volunteers. I also enjoy the work here because I like working in the kitchen.
In the morning I go to the bakery. I am a baking assistant. We work as a team. In the afternoon I help out in the cafe. I made olive rolls and masala rolls. I love making new friends in here.
It helps them to learn the different skills and experiment. We find that over the years their skills increase and they become more brave. They're able to maybe start off in the bakery, which is quite sheltered, but eventually some of them are able to work behind the till and speak to customers. It creates more integration into the town. They're more able to get to know the local customers, and they get great pride of going through town, which is their hometown, and living and see people, their faces. They get to know each other, they're able to communicate with them, and it stops them being isolated.
Now to Lancashire, where midwives are tackling the sad subject of how to reduce the number of babies who are stillborn. The talented midwives are getting special training to carry out maternity scans. The hope is this will help spot mums-to-be who might be at risk and so avoid a tragic outcome.
According to the NHS, 11 babies are stillborn each day in the UK. Here at Burnley General Hospital, midwife Julie is hoping to combat some of those numbers.
There's such a lot of evidence, a lot of strong evidence that suggests that fetal growth restriction, so if a baby's not growing in the way that it should, that it's a major contributor to a stillbirth. So the more access we have to growth scans in pregnancy, the better for the women that access the care here, because if we can pick up a small baby, a growth restricted baby in pregnancy, we can act on it, we can manage it, we can arrange timely delivery of that baby so that that baby has the best outcome.
It's something Julie is proud to offer expectant mums.
So I was a midwife that might have measured somebody's tummy in the community, knew that that baby felt small and wanted that lady seeing.
Laura Palmer is just one of the many mothers who have suffered the reality of stillbirth after losing her daughter Winnie at just over 35 weeks.
Didn't feel her moving like you normally would. So rang the unit and they said like all the usual stuff to do. But none of that made any difference. So they said, oh, come down and we'll put you on the monitor, put the probe on, and just said, well, she didn't need to say anything really, because we knew, because she didn't turn the machine round or anything like that. So she just said, oh, I'm really sorry. You look pregnant, you feel pregnant. If you were out, people would think you were pregnant. But you're not.
Only around half of all hospitals in the UK have a midwife sonographer. A hospital's trust, along with the midwives, are hoping in a year's time solid evidence from these scans will show a reduction in stillbirths for the county and encourage the uptake of other trusts.
Now, boats and booze aren't something you'd normally put together. It could get messy. But Norwich is hoping to turn pub crawlers into canoers in a new ale trail along the River Wensum. And you know the old advice, never stand up in a canoe.
Pushing off on a trip and a new idea for Norwich's River Wensum. But this isn't just another sightseeing expedition, they're taking the ale trail afloat by stopping off at some of the riverside pubs in Norfolk best seen by boat. It's a new venture called Pub and Paddle, and means groups of up to 15 can take to water to visit some of the city's watering holes.
Well, if the weather's nice, then it's a great way to spend your day. Obviously, being out on the water is very relaxing. You see lots of wildlife, see the city from a slightly different angle, and once you're out in the countryside, there's lots of nice scenery. And then arriving at a pub by canoe, well, what's not to be liked about that, really?
His new idea is simple. Hire a canoe, pick one of the 3 routes through the city and paddle your way, with a choice of pubs to pop into as you go. Safety is important, of course. Everyone's asked to drink responsibly and even consider having, instead of a designated driver, a designated paddler.
Tourists often say, we didn't know there was a river. They start walking down from the cathedral and then they find themselves on the river. It's something that isn't signposted. It's not made the most of. They don't promote it, I don't think, enough.
It's about more than business, though. It's about getting more people to use the Wensum too. It was only last summer a major consultation was started to try and help the city make better use of the river and really open it up to the public.
We're lucky to have a river that runs right through the city, lots of nice pubs that lie on the riverside, and some interesting spots, nice bridges and nice old buildings that are right on the river. Boating's really popular out on the Broads, but not so much here in the city, so it's just really nice that we're able to give people that chance to get out there and explore.
With summer just around the corner, it's certainly a good way to make the most of the river, providing you don't mind paddling for your pint.
And that's the end of part 1, which means, of course, it's time for the quiz. Which of these James Bond themes was not sung by Cardiff-born vocalist Shirley Bassey? Was it A, Diamonds Are Forever, B, Goldeneye, or C, Moonraker? Find out in part 2. Loving local? Then let us know what you think by using the hashtag #DigitalNation. Welcome back to Digital Nation. Before the break, we asked you which of these James Bond themes wasn't sung by Cardiff-born vocalist Shirley Bassey. And the answer was B, Goldeneye. Not to be confused, of course, with the 1964 hit Goldfinger, which was Shirley Bassey's first musical foray into the world of 007. Now, we've all had a dog stare up at us with mournful eyes hankering after a bit of food. Well, I certainly have. But researchers at the University of Cambridge have found a very good reason not to give in to that pleading gaze. And it's all down to genes.
Not greedy, just acting according to their genetic makeup. That's the findings from researchers at the University of Cambridge into Labrador eating habits. Owners will know the popular dog breed often seem hungry even right after food, and geneticists believe they have uncovered why.
The reason why anything, human beings, dogs, whatever, get fat is because they eat too much. Okay, and we just got to accept that. Eat too much and not move enough. What we've been trying to study is what controls food intake. Why do some people, why do some things, why do some animals eat more than others? What the Labradors have, as it turns out, is a deletion in a gene called POMC. Now, POMC sits in the brain, and its role is to sense fat, sense the amount of fat you actually have, which is a critical piece of information, because how much fat you have is how long you can last without food. All mammals have POMC. All mammals have POMC to sense fat. In Labradors, however, there is a deletion in this gene so that they cannot sense this fat.
Overeating and obesity in all types of dogs can lead to serious health risks, meaning owners have a responsibility to maintain a good diet in their dogs, especially if they won't stop themselves eating.
It is a really sensitive subject often for a lot of people. And so to be able to say, look, it's not necessarily just down to what you're doing, that there are some genetic reasons as to why your dog may be putting on weight. That can help them understand. But I do worry as well that we don't want people blaming all overweight dogs on it being on genetics.
But is it possible that the same genetic trait could be found in humans?
It's actually quite difficult, very difficult indeed, to naturally study human feeding behavior. And the reason behind that is because we get self-conscious. If you're told to eat naturally and do what you do, you won't, because you're being observed. You actually do something unnatural. Whereas this is not true in dogs.
More evidence therefore needs to be done to establish how genetics can affect human eating behavior, just like Labradors.
Let's head to Glasgow now, where we've been treated to a private tour of the city's newest Sikh temple. This impressive Gurdwara will be a place of gathering and worship for the Glaswegian Sikh community for years to come.
So the Sikh community in Glasgow arrived in the 1950s, and gradually over the years they have developed 4 Gurdwaras based in the north of the city and the south of the city. In the late 90s it was decided that what we actually needed to cater for our Sikh population would be a multi-purpose built Gurdwara, which could have all the facilities that we would need moving forward. The Gurdwara is actually a hub for the Scottish Sikh community. It varies from other places of worship because for Sikhism, our religion certainly feels like a way of life. Any moments of joy in our life or any moments of sadness, we would tend to come to the Gurdwara. November 2010 we started the building process, and now it's finally coming to fruition.
One of the reasons for the Gurdwara being built is the Punjabi classes. Now with the growing Sikh community in Glasgow, we had more people who had an interest in learning Punjabi, which is why we needed wider space and bigger classrooms and better facilities. It has taken almost 6 years to build this Gurdwara, and costs in the region of £15 million. More than 60% of these funds have come from the Sikh community. It kind of feels like it is everybody's Gurdwara, you know, everybody has a part in it because everybody has donated into it.
In the transport world, hybrid cars and buses that can run on both fuel and electricity are increasingly common. But what about hybrid boats? In Southampton, an engineering firm is at the cutting edge of this cleaner technology, and they want to see it used in another famous waterside city, Venice.
REAP Systems are experts when it comes to hybrid and electric-powered vehicles, and now they've turned their attention to water taxis in Venice.
We talked to a contact who has got an island in Venice, who's very enthusiastic about the idea of making the boats cleaner and greener. And what we want to create is basically a system that any boat builder can put into a boat when they build a boat. It's like putting in a normal diesel engine, it's just that it's a hybrid system. In Venice, this technology makes a lot of sense because you have some fast runs to the airport, so you still need the power and the of a normal diesel engine. But when the taxis then go around the little canals in Venice, this is where you want them to be quiet, non-polluting, no noise, no diesel emissions, and no vibration, which is potentially damaging the buildings. So we can get rid of all these problems in the little canals, but still have the full performance when going to the airport. And when the taxis go into the airport, we recharge then the batteries.
Looking forward, the hopes are that water taxis in Venice will show the whole world the benefits of hybrid-powered boats.
So by putting out a hybrid taxi boat, we can basically show what's possible. We will test the boat here in Southampton. Once we are confident with the technology, we'll take it to Venice. So in Venice, these boats are used 20 hours a day, every day, by the taxi boat drivers. So we believe if the technology can survive that usage, if we can demonstrate it is that reliable, then the uptake in other markets will also start happening.
And now it's time for the blend of creation and animation that is Creative Kingdom.
What would modern television do without the lie detector? William Marston of Massachusetts is credited with the invention of the blood pressure test, which led to the polygraph. But that's not exactly true. It's also the idea of his wife, Elizabeth, who was born in the Isle of Man, moved to America, and hoovered up psychology degrees left and right before getting married to William. According to legend, she noted that whenever she got angry or excited, her blood pressure would rocket, and before too long, they had knocked up the first systolic blood pressure test. And when William was trying his hand at creating a comic book superhero, it was Margaret who suggested that it ought to be female, making her the official mother of Wonder Woman. Proof once again that when it comes to creativity, innovation, and giving tabloid talk show hosts something to do in the morning, ain't the Isle of Man mint.
With their leathery armoured shell and little clawed digits, you might not necessarily describe the ant-eating armadillo as adorable. But these anomalies of the animal kingdom are pretty fascinating. So let's meet a mum and her new baby in Edinburgh.
So I'm here at Edinburgh Zoo today. I'm going to meet one of the newest arrivals. When you think babies, you maybe think wee, cute and fluffy. This one's very wee, not fluffy, but still very cute nonetheless. Come on, we'll go meet her.
In here at the moment, we are joined by mum and baby southern three-banded armadillos. So a lot of people actually don't believe they're mammals.
Right, why
Because
is
of the
that?
shell.
Okay.
So we often get, people saying, oh, there must be reptiles because they have a shell,
Yeah.
like a tortoise or something like that. But this is just made out of the same stuff as your fingernails.
Like the keratin?
Keratin,
Right.
exactly. And you can tell it's a mammal straight off because she's got hair.
Yes. She's got a hair barely than me. So we're now outside, sitting on the grass, having a little picnic. We've got mum and baby. And baby is all up in a little ball. Is she just getting used to being brought
She is
out?
just being used to being handled. Mummy's here though, so mum's absolutely making sure that I'm not doing anything untoward with baby.
So what's happening here?
She's just having a check. Baby's just going to pop onto her feet and start, maybe if we're lucky, have a little explore. They do put on weight and grow very, very fast, and obviously that's a survival strategy. And now that we've now handled and had a look at her, we'll let them just relax for the rest of the day. But that's them done their bit and met their adoring public.
How many times can you bounce a ball on your head? And how many times can you do it while also skipping? Probably not as many as this next sportsman from Sheffield, who's broken the Guinness World Record for doing just that.
Dan, congratulations. Another world record. Is this all a bit too easy now for you?
Do you know what? That actual specific record I've been working on for quite a while. I've actually been training quite hard for it. I've heard there's a few guys that are looking to break it. So yeah, I want to keep one step ahead. And yeah, actually, I actually quite shocked myself because the record was 102. So to get to 140 is actually, I have made it look a bit easy, to be fair.
And when you're in the middle of the action, are you just counting in your head? What are you thinking? Or is that too hard a question?
Yeah, I'm counting in my head and I'm just trying to focus on trying to get my feet over the rope each time because it's really annoying. Sometimes if you get caught up, it can really kill the time. And also, obviously, trying to, head the ball at the same time as well.
Could someone like Messi, he can't do what you can do, can he?
I mean, do you know, he has got the skills to keep the ball up. He's got the all-round ball control, but I would say he doesn't work on the individual tricks. But I do think there's a big relation between football freestyle, what I do, and the game, and that's why all the top players, if you look at the best players that have ever lived, you're probably looking at Maradona, Messi, Ronaldo, these types of players, and they can all do it. So I do think there's a big link between freestyle football and football itself.
And those guys might have to retire by the time they're mid to late 30s.
Absolutely.
You can go on until you're a bit older, can't you?
Forever. I could go on forever. No, I'm not sure. I'm hoping to do. I don't want to go on too long and then kind of be thinking I can still do it, but actually I can't.
That's all we've got time for on this week's rundown of the best of local TV. Don't forget, there's much more to see on your local TV station's website. And if you like the show, you can watch previous episodes at bbc.co.uk/digitalnation. But till next time, from me, bye-bye.